This is the Algebra 1 intro video for multiplying polynomials together. And we're going to start by multiplying monomials together. All right, so I've got number one here. I've got two monomials being multiplied together. The way that I do this is I'm going to multiply the two coefficients together. So negative 9 times negative 5, of course, is positive 45. Negative times negative, still positive. And then how do I multiply the variable parts of the factors together? T to the 7th times t to the 4th. I want to let you know we're going to go very deep with this when we get to our next unit. But for now, I want you to remember that if you are multiplying two bases together, like t to the 7th and t to the 4th, the way that you simplify it is you add the exponents up. So like I said, we'll get into the reasons for that as we get into our next unit. But for now, I hope you can remember that. Of course, 7 plus 4 is 11, so this would be 45t to the 11th. All right, and then, of course, you could multiply three monomials together. This will operate in much the same way. First, I want to note that this x on the end here is x to the first. And then I'm going to multiply, like I said, much the same way. So I'm going to multiply my coefficients together. 6 times negative 3, and this is technically a 1 down here. So that would be negative 18. And then again, when you're multiplying bases like this, what you'll do is you'll leave the base the same and add the exponents. So it would be x to the 2 plus 3 plus 1, giving us negative 18, x to the 6th. So here are two examples of multiplying not a monomial times a monomial, but in the first case, a monomial times a binomial, and in the second case, we're going to see a monomial times a four-termed polynomial. And to do this, we're going to use what I call the box method. So it's true here in number 3 and really number 4. This is just the distributive property, but these get complicated enough, or maybe a different method is better. And certainly as we expand this out a little bit further, I think this method will really help you. So the way we do this is we write 7t to the 8th right there, and 2t to the 5th there, plus t to the 4th right there. And inside each box simply is going to be the product of each of these terms. So 7t to the 8th times 2t to the 5th, the result of that's going to go right here. So 7 times 2, of course, is 14. And remember, of course, that when you multiply like bases, t to the 8th times t to the 5th, you add your exponents. 8 plus 5 is 13. And then I'm going to multiply 7t to the 8th times t to the 4th. The coefficient on the t to the 4th is just a 1. 7 times 1, of course, is 7. And just like before, whenever you multiply like bases, you add your exponents up. T to the 4th times t to the 8th would be t to the 4 plus 8, which is t to the 12th. All right, so then our final product here would be 14t to the 13th plus 7t to the 12th. All right, and then finally number 4, I'm going to write my negative 9x squared right here, and then we're going to multiply times 6x cubed plus x squared minus x plus 3. Okay, so like before, I'm going to write the product of each one of these pairs in the box. So in this first box, it's going to be negative 9x squared times 6x to the 3rd. So that's going to give me negative 54 x to the 5th. Remember, if you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. X to the 2 times x to the 3 is x to the 5th. Next, I'm going to multiply these two. So negative 9x squared times 1x squared. Negative 9 times 1, of course, is negative 9. And like before, if I'm multiplying my bases, I add my exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4, so I get minus 9x to the 4th. Next, I'm going to multiply these two together. Negative 9x squared times negative 1x. So negative 9 times negative 1, of course, is positive 9. And then x to the 2 times x. Let's remember that this is really x to the first. So like before, when you're multiplying your like bases, you add your exponents. And of course, 2 plus 1 is 3. Finally, I'm going to multiply these two together. Negative 9x squared times 3. All right, negative 9 times 3, of course, is negative 27. And there is no variable there. We'll talk. There's some more to talk about there. We'll probably talk about it later. For now, let's just recognize this would just be negative 27 times x squared. All right, so my final answer would be negative 54 x to the 5th minus 9x to the 4th plus 9x to the 3rd minus 27x squared. That would be my final expression here. Okay, so we're going to keep practicing this, and we'll expand out in some other areas as well. When I see you next time in class, and I'll see you then.